Student forecaster Stephen Boyle for Northeast Weather Center. It's a good Wednesday afternoon, everybody. Well, there is not a lot going on across the country today. Just a little bit of snow shower activity going on into portions of central New York. We also have some cold and frosty weather going on into portions of the Smokies. One little lone severe thunderstorm warning in through Texas, and also a winter weather advisory into portions of Utah. This is actually associated, that little winter weather advisory is associated with our system that's going to be coming down, and we kind of have to watch it, but again, we'll see what happens. Alright, here are the snows that are coming in through a good chunk of central New York. Some of them are even trying to make it into the Berkshires, but they're having a very hard time working their way into these regions. But you know, we'll see what happens. And again, the air is very dry, and actually some of the weather offices are a little bit concerned about potential fire hazards. So you know, just keep in mind about that. Again, the winds coming off of the lake are making way again for some lake effect snows today. Alright, that's what's going on up into there. Yeah, some areas have reported over around 4 inches of snow. Alright, so here is our feature. Again, things will get more interesting as this little upper level disturbance kind of moves through and kind of taps into some Gulf of Mexico energy that's kind of coming out of Mexico and Texas and all of these other areas. Eventually, what's going to happen is this upper level feature will tap into it somewhere in the Louisiana area and make way for some big rains and thunderstorms into parts of Florida, like I've been saying over the past couple of days. And again, there's a little bit of snowy activity going out into portions of Colorado and Utah, but for the most part, this is mainly in the mountains and the lower elevations. You're probably seeing a little bit of rain today, sprinkles, showers, that sort of thing. So here is the situation. Can see actually what's going on into these areas is actually from the southern stream energy. The snow showers and the rain showers back out here is the actual surface pressure system. This is going to kind of move into here, tap into the energy that's energy and moisture that's being supplied on in the Gulf Coast, and it'll blow up, and it looks like it's going to do something either like this or something like that. Some of the models are saying, hey, this could come up a little bit more like this or like this, but I don't think it gets that close to the northeast here. So again, we'll have to sort of see what happens. But again, this whole entire system we're going to need to watch, because again, it could cause maybe a few showers or sprinkles into some areas, or even a steadier rain, particularly in through southern portions of the mid-Atlantic. So particularly Virginia, southern Jersey, southern PA, areas like this. Particularly the Washington area would probably be the biggest city that would get affected. Washington, D.C., Richmond, those two cities. And again, you can clearly see our trough is in place. We are getting very cold wind today. It's a very chilly day in through the New England area. Temperatures not getting out of the 40s, even some areas not even getting out of the 30s. Pretty nippy day out there. You can see some clouds left over from that little low pressure system that moved through. I believe our low is here, and our front is actually well off the coast. But for some reason, this low is getting held back in here because of the blocking. But for the most part, that's what's going on. I mean, nothing very major today. Not even a major severe weather outbreak. Okay, so looking at the NAM model first, we're going to look at first the surface map here. And again, here is the trough in the west, and there's the storm. And again, the NAM is saying, hey, this thing is going to come up pretty close to the coast and could give some folks in D.C., southern Jersey, even New York City, a nice steady rain. And sorry about that. And folks who live into interior sections of the Northeast, hey, you may want to watch out for a couple snows, a couple bursts of snow. But again, I'm not supporting a track this far to the north. I'm thinking the track will probably be more around here or here. I'm supporting more of a track somewhere in here. And taking it out like this or taking it out like this, and the edge of precip coming as far north as here. So this area of green should be a light green should be much further south than what is being indicated here. Now, according to the NAM, what would probably happen is this storm lifts out, and we're actually having an area of higher pressure forming in here. Or actually, we have our high pressure here. This is going to move eastward, and this is actually by the end of the week going to bring in some warmer air up north. The GFS is starting to back off on this idea, and you'll see that in a couple minutes when I show you the GFS. But let's look at the jet stream pattern. Actually, let's look at this one. Jet stream pattern. Okay. So basically, you can see there is the front, and today winds again. Sorry about that. Keep doing that. Winds are coming again from coming in from Canada today. That's what's creating some of those lake effect snows. And again, there is that low pressure system we were seeing on the surface imagery. But again, the front is well offshore now. And again, the reason why this thing is just basically swirling around, well, because we got a lot of blocking, but eventually that'll start moving northward. Okay, and you can still see a flow coming in out of Canada. Okay, you can still see that flow. And again, here is that little surface feature. And again, today, again, those rains and everything that are happening into these sections of the country are coming in from the southern energy. It's all of these clouds and rains that's coming into these sections is from the southern energy. The actual low pressure system is back out in here, and it's not until this thing comes around in here and it taps into this energy that we get an actual good low pressure system forming. And you can see that. Okay, it taps into that southern stream energy, blows up. And again, like I said, don't think this low pressure system is going to come this far north as what's being indicated by the NAM. And again, surface temperature, let's just take a brief look at that. Starting off here, you can see today's temperatures were generally into the 30s and 40s, some 50s down into mid-Atlantic. Tomorrow, a little bit warmer. We'll have 40s and maybe even nearing 50 degrees. Again, we'll have some 60s and some 70s, but again, here are those colder temperatures like we've been mentioning over the past several days from the little feature that we have moving through the region. And then again, we see some warmer temperatures forming here on Thursday. You can see almost near 60 degrees. You can see near 70 degrees into portions of the mid-Atlantic. And behind this low pressure system, we've got a warm flow coming out of Texas. You can see some areas coming in through portions of the plains and into portions of the southwest, getting into near 90 degrees, 80 degrees up into these sections. Here's where our low pressure is. You can definitely tell. Again, cooler temperatures associated with clouds and precip. Starts moving northward, and here you go. I mean, you can see the warm air behind the system. You can associate with the high pressure, and then you can see the cooler air, and the rainy conditions indicated by the cooler temperatures. And again, you can see this wall of warmth, though. Okay, and again, these models are not really hooking on to the idea of this moving that far north, this very warm air, especially the GFS. The GFS really backed off on the idea of getting um, warm weather coming in. And again, it could be just the 12Z run of the GFS, or the 12Z runs actually. And again, here is that low pressure, and again, still don't think it's gonna come that far north. But again, could it? It could. Again, what this is actually indicating is that behind this low pressure system, what's going to actually happen is this thing will move in this particular direction, and behind it we will get some cold air flowing in. That is yet to be remained. That is yet to be determined. Um, Also has to do something with this area of high pressure located over Ohio. Again, with your clockwise flow, that would again also be transferring a little bit of cold air into the northeast. Um, in the meantime, though, what is really unclear though is we've got also higher end pressures being indicated down here into these sections as well. So that's again what we got to watch. But again, here is that system, all right, and here are those this is like a major piece of energy, and will really need to be watched, because if all of this energy can be brought into Florida, that's going to be some serious flooding and some serious severe weather. And again, you can see eventually Florida gets into that severe weather, particularly Thursday evening into extremely early Friday morning. All right. Now, this is again, here is that area of high pressure. Okay, and this is gonna, like I said, I don't think with the pattern that we have, don't think it's gonna move that far north. At furthest north, it will come like this. Okay, don't think that that's going to come that far north. This area of high pressure is going to replace this low, all right, and basically you'll see an area of high pressure centered right here by the end of the weekend, beginning of next week, and you will see a nice flow coming in from the south and southwest into the northeast, creating some some warm temperatures. All right, that moves in, and again, what is being indicated here is that we get a bigger area of high pressure, more centered now towards the upper mid portions of the Great Lakes region. Whether that happens or not is, like I said, yet to be seen. All right. Now, according to this, we have a powerful cold front. Okay, that's starting to form in here. We've got some really cold air coming in behind this system. All right. Again, and we also got some warm air ahead of this system. Again, the GFS is backing off on the idea of very warm conditions. Again, with again the especially around this hour, Monday, looks like we get an area of high pressure coming in here. Again, I'm not buying this very strong cold front just yet. I still think that we're going to see a nice area of high pressure forming off of the southeast coast. This is again going to flow in some warmer air, and I do believe early next week could be pretty warm. All right. Now, the question is we still have this area of high pressure, but we have another area of high pressure up in here, and again with your clockwise flow, that would be bringing in cooler air into the northeast instead of and that would be sort of forcing this high to the east. And again, we also have another area of disturbance out into Midwest. Again, that could be the potentials of watching out for a potential severe weather outbreak. And again, the GFS doesn't start showing a warm influx of air by hour until 1 hour 192. And it actually brings in more cold air afterwards. Again, and especially with the southeastern ridge being in here at the same time, I think this is going to be a main driving factor. I mean, most guidance is strongly suggesting that it's going to be a very warm spring. So we'll have to sort of see. I mean, even the euro kind of started to back off on the idea, but still holds on quite well the warm conditions here. And again, we'll look at the 500 millibar temperature, or excuse me, the 500 millibar pattern, and basically, excuse me, this is basically what's going on. Actually, we want this one. Okay, so basically here's what's going on, and like I said, sometimes it takes a couple minutes to load. But again, the GFS, but if you look at the model run before it, okay, if you look at the 6 and the 0Z and the 18Zs from last night, they're all showing the very warm air coming in. So that is the one thing that we have to really watch. So again, here is that southern stream energy. Okay, we have all of this southern stream energy down in here. Here's our surface low. Again, this is going to tap into this energy, and the low pressure is going to form somewhere in here. All right, somewhere off the coast. Okay, and you can see that again. I really don't think that this low is going to get that far north. All right, now notice how on Sunday we do have a flow coming out of the south and southwest, with again the cooler air kind of walked up into Canada. Okay, now what happens here is we start getting a brief little cool front, so our winds start shifting here on Tuesday morning out of Canada. All right, and in the same time we have this really strong trough back out in here. But the problem is this front going to actually be powerful enough to really fight off this this major ridge down in here, and with the warm air influx, and is it going to force this cold air northward? Do I think it will force the cold air northward? I actually do think it will force the cold air northward. At farthest south, I think it'll come in here, but I think all of these folks will see warmer conditions. All right, that's just my thoughts. And again, you can see that the winds, everything starts shifting. All right, definitely by Thursday of next week, you can see clearly a frontal system. We have a cool front here, a warm front here. You can see the warm air ahead of the system, the cool air coming in behind it. Okay, but it's not powerful cold air. Notice how the cold air isn't really defined. It's not until it gets into the northeast that we start seeing a lot of real cold air starting to flow in from the northwest, which is a problem. But again, the GFS is just starting to show this, because if I show you, I'll even go to the past couple of runs here. I'll show you the 6, I'll show you the 0Z from today, and you'll notice how it's a lot different. Okay, we'll basically move after this storm. All right, we'll start at hour 108 on the 6Z. All right, because again, this could mean the difference between some people seeing 60-degree weather or seeing 40-degree weather. It's a major difference, and again, that can definitely impact some people's lives, because just the way how everything is. Okay, so we'll start here, and again, you can see for the most part things are basically etched in stone, but again, it's this front that starts coming through. Okay, notice how hold on a minute. Alright, so we're at 1. We'll start here. This is when the winds start changing a little bit. Hour 150. Alright, notice how this colder air just stays up north. Alright, notice how as we move onward, you can see how we still have we actually get a little bit of cool air, especially into this time period in here. The winds really start changing, and basically the 6Z started showing that, but the 0Z yesterday did not. Basically, we had warm air coming out of the south. Um, so that's a little bit of a change. And again, the 0Z, or the excuse me, the 12Z is a little bit flatter. But notice how we look at the 6Z, and that's very much coming in out of the northwest very strongly. And again, we move onward, and again, there is a little bit of a difference, but for the most part, things aren't changing all that much. It's just the question will be really that cold front that we see next week. Is that going to bring in some much cooler air, or is it going to be fairly weak and not really do anything, and is the warm air going to win out? That is the main question that really needs to be answered over the next several days. Let's look at the surface temperature, and I'll quickly go through this. I'm not going to go through the whole period, but we'll go through our 192. So basically, we'll look at that. But like I said, for the most part, I think we're still on a warming trend. And again, the GFS just started showing a little bit more of a cooler trend. But I do think that we are talking about some much warmer weather. So that's still, I think, etched in stone. It's just how warm we get. It's a little iffy right now. Alright, so here's by Saturday, and you can definitely see temperatures starting to warm up for all of us. Alright, now the GFS on Sunday does bring in 60-degree temperatures. Okay, 50 to 65-degree temperatures. Okay, and then this is the difference. Let's look at the 6Z run at hour 150. Let's look at the 0Z run at hour 150. All right, we'll just look at these. All right, so you can see, all right, portions of Pennsylvania are into only maybe not even getting out of the 30s. And then of course we have some 70 and 80-degree warmth down in through the southeast, especially once you get down closer to Florida. Here's what it shows at the 6Z run, and here's what it shows at the 0Z run. All right, notice on the 0Z run you can definitely see a much warmer air mass coming in for Monday. All right, again, the warmer air is starting to come in, particularly for New England, but the question is will it be more of a situation like this, or will it be more of a situation like these two? Okay, that's the major question. Okay, now this is what it shows for next Tuesday. This is what the 6Z showed, so it is warming up from the 6Z run. But this is what the new run of the run this morning, early this morning, showed. So it showed that cooler air coming in next Tuesday with some 30s and 40s. All right, so that's the major difference. Okay, so definitely there is a major warming trend for next Tuesday. All right, now we look at hour 192, and basically you can see not all that much different. And again, looking here, I mean, for the most part, this is next Wednesday at 1, and you can see for the most part we don't get into some extremely warm weather, not like it was originally being thought. So that's just the way it looks right now. It looks like maybe closer to average, but you know, there's still plenty of time for things to update. All right. I still am leaning towards warmer conditions. I'm still leaning on that side of things, but maybe not as warm as originally thought. Okay, so here's the Euro finally. And again, you can see there's that front, and then there's the system. All right, now I am leaning definitely on the side of the euro as far as the storm. All right, now watch what happens. Okay, we get some higher pressure building in the southeast. This forces warm air northward. Okay, so notice how we have our warm air surging in from the south and southwest. Okay, and basically this is forcing the cooler air to the north. All right, um, so that's what it's looking like as far as that goes. And then you can see we don't get in our system here until next Monday, and it looks like that lasts for maybe a couple days, and then we start seeing warmer air surging in. So much different solution. I would be leaning more on the side of what the euro is putting out, getting a front coming in next Tuesday. All right, possibly maybe even some thunderstorm activity coming in through portions of the northeast. Okay, we might see some action starting to form back out in through the mid sections of the country. All right, and notice how we get another warm front, and we start talking about the potentials of some really nasty severe weather. I mean, just look at the squall line that forms. I mean, you can clearly see here is our front, here is the cold air behind it, here is our warm front, here is where the low is. Okay, or the low is actually somewhere in here. We have a cold front here, a warm front here. I mean, it's a perfect setup for severe weather. So basically, this is what it's looking like. Okay, I would definitely lean more on the side of this, and the potentials would be there that maybe we would have to be watching out for the potentials of severe weather, especially down into the southeast, but maybe even reaching as far north as PA, maybe even southern portions of New England, but particularly these areas of the mid-Atlantic would be areas that would probably see the most severe weather. And again, notice how this trough is not that negatively tilted. So what would this mean? It would probably last for a couple days, and then we would start warming things up again, especially with the southeastern ridge out here. All it will take is just a little bit for it to move back into this position and start warming things up again. So I'm leaning more on the side of what the euro is showing rather than on the side of what the GFS is showing, because if you noticed, the GFS even the other day was sort of mentioning, hey, things will be warmer now. It's leaning on more of a side of a cooler solution, and that's what I mean why I'm not a real big fan of the GFS. I show it because it is a very important model, but I like the Euro because it's a little bit more on the consistent side. Looking at the 500 millibar jet streams here. So again, here is that cold air coming in from Canada. Don't be too scared about all these colors that you're seeing. The only reason why you're seeing that is those are winds in the upper levels of the atmosphere. All right, now here is our little again. There's our southern stream energy. All right, this is all of this in here is our southern stream energy. This is our surface feature down in here. All right, now watch. That starts moving down and it starts exploding. Notice how we get a nice big explosion. All right, so that means we will get some precip into these areas. All right, notice how we also have in a nice line here, we've got some very strong winds that indicates a potential squall line. So basically, we're gonna have to watch out for that. So there's a lot that we'll be looking at as far as that goes. And again, notice how the euro is much further south with the actual area of energy. All right, now here's what happens. By early next week, we start getting more of a flow coming in from the southwest. All right, there's still cold air, but it's somewhat in here. So therefore, not really seeing cold air in New England, but particularly in and particularly southern New England and the Mid-Atlantic, definitely not in that colder air. And again, you can really see how things really become coming out of the south and southwest by Monday of next week. And again, we have a little bit of a front that moves through, and it might bring in, especially on Tuesday, some cooler conditions coming in here. But again, remember, we have a front here, we have a warm front here, so things are getting ready to surge warmer. So don't worry that that cooler air won't last. And notice how we see that warm air pushing in here by next Thursday. And yeah, you got it. We have warmer air surging in by that time. We have an area of high pressure in here. But again, remember, there's some weaker cooler air behind the front. So basically, that's what it would be looking like. And again, we'd have to be really watching out for the potentials of some really nasty storms into the Midwest, and possibly maybe having to watch what would be happening coming further east. So that's what it's looking like right now. Finally looking at surface temperatures here, and again, surface temperatures, you just sort of, so basically tomorrow probably reaching into the 40s for many areas. Thursday, temperatures into the 50s, 50s yet again on Friday. On Saturday, probably yet again into the 50s, a lot of 50-degree days, and again, on Sunday, really warm, it's starting to warm things up, probably many areas getting close to near 60, and then we start looking at Monday, and that's definitely the warmest day. And again, on Monday, would not be surprised if we saw widespread 60-degree temperatures. Even some 65 to 70-degree temperatures is not out of the question. All right, but will those 80s, as was being sought out on the Euro yesterday, come that far north? Probably not, especially since we do have a very strong cold front. So notice how things are actually kind of going up and down. We got like warm air and then cooler air, and actually the cold front that comes in through Tuesday is not that powerful. Notice how we still have 50 to 55-degree temperatures, so only down like what, 5, 10, maybe 10 degrees, and maybe a little bit cooler on Wednesday, but even then 45 to 55 degrees. And again, you can see that we get, now this is where things get a little bit on the interesting side. Alright, notice how we do have some cooler air in through central PA. Alright, now what's going on here? Well, we have our cool front here, and then we have our warm front here. Alright, and then we also have a little bit more of, there's a little bit of like warm air advection in here, so a little bit of lingering warmth coming in through these areas. I also believe maybe even some precip is falling into these areas. And you can see that as time moves on, you can definitely see that the warm air is pointed northward. Okay, we have a front in here. We have, again, where this warm front sets up, will it be this far south? I don't know. It might actually be something more like this, but for the most part, that's what it looks like right now. And remember, these temperatures are during the nighttime or during the extreme early morning hours, so, you know, this is above, all of these temperatures are above freezing, and notice these even 40s and 50s down in here. So things are going to get warmer here, definitely, over the next couple of weeks. It's just how much warmer. That's the main question. It may not be as warm as, like I said, as originally thought, but it will still be on the warm side and still definitely feel a lot like spring out there. So we'll see what happens. Definitely no more snow. The snow is all over with. Maybe unless you live into extreme northern New England, and even then, you may be really hard pressed for some snow up there. So it'll be very, very scattered in nature, and we won't be seeing much of it. Particularly though, like I said, the main question is how warm is it going to get, and will we have a major influx of warm air? I think eventually that happens, but whether it happens next week or not, probably not. We'll probably see this upcoming end of the weekend, beginning of next week, we'll probably be talking more some low to mid 60s rather than low to mid 60s, maybe even nearing 70 degrees rather than 70 to 80 degrees. So that's what I'm thinking at this particular point. Well, again, this is still early on in the game. We still have tomorrow, we still have Thursday, Friday, and Saturday to nail everything down as far as temperatures go, and as far as potential severe weather outbreak goes and all of this other stuff. So there's still plenty of time, but definitely April will be an interesting month. There will be several severe weather outbreaks, and I see this continuing right through the summertime. And like I said, I do still see an above average spring and summer. I do think that there will be periods, though, particularly by the middle to the end of the month, that some portions of the Northeast could be definitely nearing 80 degrees, especially into Virginia, where I believe even into this model run it shows even some near 80-degree temps. Um, yeah, I mean, Virginia will definitely be getting pretty warm and very, very close to those 85-degree temps. So definitely it's going to be pretty warm. And notice those 70 to 75-degree temperatures, 75 to 80. So it's going to get warm out there. So we'll have to sort of see what happens as we move along through. But for now, that's what it looks like. And I hope you all have a great rest of your Tuesday, and we'll be back tomorrow with another update. Take care, everyone.